All right, so just give me a few seconds to get.
By the way, those of you that are enjoying the simulcast over there on the Scribe for Meetings site will notice that right now there's a sign up that says that there's no content being shown. And if you were listening with your headphones, you got a little piano thing, ding, that says that there's no slides. When Steve comes back and starts showing his slides again, and inevitably he will, there will be another sound, and you will be able to know that you can flip back into that window if you're somewhere else.
Well, then I need to keep my demo under half an hour so the bot doesn't get tired and leave the meeting, because if we leave it in this state for half an hour or more, then the bot will decide to leave until somebody brings it back in.
It gets bored.
Yeah.
You created a bot with an attention deficit disorder?
Oh, well, I mean,
we call it with an attitude.
I mean, it was an intentional feature, because sometimes I mean, if the meeting just keeps going and going and going, and I mean the bot, for better or worse, does take up resources, and we don't want it to keep running in an inactive state forever. But anyways, so Remote Incident Manager, or RIM, is the world's only fully accessible remote desktop product designed for both blind and sighted users on both ends of the connection. And now I'm going to show it to you in action. So I am sharing my VMware workstation window. I've got two virtual machines up and running. The one that I've got up right now is a Windows 10 VM, which is going to act as the RIM controller machine. This is the machine where I play the role of the technician doing a remote session. And then I've also got a Windows 11 VM where I will play the role of the target, the end user being helped. So, and I'm running the NVDA screen reader on the controller machine, and that will become relevant in a minute or two. So to bring up RIM, it's on the desktop as a shortcut, of course, but we also have a hotkey which will come up a few times in the course of our RIM session, and that is Windows Shift Backspace. So I'm going to press that key now. Okay, hang on. Just oh, that's why I didn't grab keyboard input in my VM. Let's try that again. Oh, let's, okay.
Remote incident.
There we go. And if I tab,
main landmark, start voice conversation, check,
or shift tab rather.
Keyword, edit blank.
So to start, there are a few ways to start a RIM session, and we'll talk about the other ways later. But the easiest way to start a session with just a random end user that needs help is using a keyword. And the way this works is I, as the controller, will choose a keyword and I'll enter it. And then I'll give that keyword to the target user, who will enter the same keyword. And once both sides enter the same keyword, they will be connected up and the session will begin. You can use any keyword you want. Could be as simple as one letter, as long as nobody else happens to be using that same letter to start a session at the same time. The keyword is only reserved for as long as it takes to get the session started. And then that same keyword can be reused by other people for different sessions. We think that this concept of using a keyword is much more intuitive, especially for less technically proficient end users, than having something like a random numeric or alphanumeric code, such as you would find in TeamViewer. So I'm just going to use my own name, Matt, as the keyword.
M-A-T-T.
And I happened to capitalize the M when I was entering the keyword on the controller side, but keywords are not case sensitive. So now I'll press enter.
Sending request, please wait. Waiting for the other user to enter the keyword. Remote Incident Manager.
Now I will flip over to my other VM. And it looks like my other VM went into suspend. Because wait. Or did I just bring up my Windows 7?
It did say something about Windows 7 when you first popped it on.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's the wrong VM. Hang on, guys. There's my Windows 11 VM. Okay. And now this time I'll bring up RIM, and this VM is not running a screen reader, and I'll explain why in a minute or two. So I'll just narrate what's going on. This time I'll bring up RIM from the desktop shortcut, the way more or less that a sighted end user would probably do. And I'll enter the same keyword, this time lowercase, and press enter.
Desktop list. Remote session. Remote session. No screen reader is running on the remote machine.
And now I'll flip back over to my controller VM, and we are up and running. And as you heard, it said that no screen reader was running on the target machine. So in my role as the controller, I'm doing this as if I were a blind technician. And as anyone who has worked in remote technical support or attempted to will probably already be aware, if you are connecting to, if you're blind or low vision and you need a screen reader and you're connecting to a sighted end user who doesn't have a screen reader running on their machine, well, the best you can do probably with any other product is start up narrator on their machine. And that, of course, would draw attention to the fact that you're blind or low vision, and it would just be a distraction from getting the user's problem solved. So what we offer as part of RIM is what we call the remote accessibility module, which works in conjunction with the NVDA screen reader on the controller's machine to provide access to the remote target machine without the target machine having to run a screen reader. So I'm going to show that in action now. And to do that, I'm going to bring up the RIM session menu. And to do that, I press, again, our all-purpose hotkey, Windows Shift Backspace.
Menu selected, sub-menu.
And now I can start arrowing through this menu.
Minimize session M1 of 10.
And I'll discuss more of these menu options later. For now, I'll just arrow down a few more times.
Flip session F2 of 10. Start voice conversation V3 of 10. Start remote accessibility of 4 of 10.
There we go. And you can, there is a hotkey for that within the menu. Once you open the menu, you can just use A to choose that option. So I'll press enter now.
Remote session document. No screen, desktop list. Remote incident manager checkbox check 2 of 2.
And there we go. We're getting speech output. We're getting access to the target machine with speech, but the target user is not hearing anything. And the way you know that the target user is not hearing anything is, remember, both roles are being played by VMs on my machine, and you are not getting double speech. So I can open the start menu.
Start window, search box edit blank. Pinned list, Microsoft Edge 1 of 25.
And this is the Windows 11 start menu. And I'll just close it.
Desktop list, remote incident manager checkbox check 2 of 2.
Now, let's look at some more of these menu options that I glossed over. So again, Windows Shift Backspace.
Menu selected, sub-menu.
and I'll start arrowing.
Minimize session M1 of 9.
So minimize session, this is what the controller would use if they want to switch back to controlling their own machine temporarily. And one of the things you can do here is you can copy and paste not only text, but also files between machines. And I'm going to be just a little bit adventurous and demo that now. So I'll minimize the session.
Taskbar.
And it put me on the taskbar on my controller machine. And I'll go to
Desktop
the
list.
desktop.
Recycle bin checkbox
And
not
I'll
select.
just choose a file here.
RIM March 1st, 12 setup checkbox check.
This is an older RIM installer that I had lying around. So I pressed Control C because I use this VM to do RIM testing quite a lot. So I'll copy the file to the clipboard with Control C. Now I can use Windows Shift Backspace again to return to the session in progress.
Desktop. Remote session document. Remote accessibility is active.
And RIM reminded us that the remote accessibility module is active on the target machine. One thing I should mention is that RIM also works with any other screen reader that may be running on the target machine. So if the target user is already running JAWS or NVDA or Narrator or System Access, then RIM will recognize that screen reader is running, and any audio from the target machine, screen reader or otherwise, will come across in full high quality stereo. That is a little bit awkward to demonstrate here because I'm playing both roles. But anyway, now I'm going to make sure that I'm still on the desktop.
Program Manager.
And let's paste that file.
Copying. Dialog copying RIM March 1st, 12 setup.exe to C. Users Mac OneDrive desktop name from.
Oh, it's
to,
going straight into my
time remain.
OneDrive, is it? Okay, so we don't actually need to let that go all the way
Unavailable.
through. So I just hit cancel and
Desktop list.
okay.
Remote Incident Manager checkbox check 2.
I was getting a little nervous there that thought it was gonna hang. So I didn't let it go all the way through, but that just goes to show you that file transfer does work, and it's as simple as the copy and paste that you would already be used to doing in Windows File Explorer. So let's start going through this menu again.
Menu selected submenu.
I pressed Windows Shift Backspace again.
Minimize session M1 of 9.
There is a hotkey for that you can press anytime during the session. Windows, I think it's Windows Shift M. It's in the manual. Don't quote me on that specific keystroke, but there is a hotkey for that function. So let's keep going.
Flip session F2 of 9.
Flip session. This is a really, we think, unique feature of RIM. And what it does basically is it temporarily switches the controller and target roles. So if I was connected to, if I started a session on Mike's machine, and then I, as the controller, went in and flipped the session, then Mike would temporarily be connected to my machine, and he could start remotely using whatever software I have on my machine. And if you're a trainer and you want to demo some software that the end user doesn't have installed on their machine, then you can just flip the session around and let them take temporary control of your machine. And you, as the person who initiated the session, always have ultimate control, so you can flip the session back or disconnect the user at any time. And by the way, in a regular non-flipped session, the end user can also forcibly disconnect the technician. So I'm not going to demo flipping right now because again, since I'm playing both roles, it would get kind of hard to follow what's going on. But that is an overview of what flipping the session can do.
Start voice conversation V3 of 9.
And this lets you start a voice conversation between the two users, and it's high quality. It's got echo cancellation and basically the other stuff that you would expect from a modern voice chat feature. So if you want to if you want to talk to the end user through your computers during the session, then you can do that.
Request unattended access U4 of 9.
So unattended access is a really powerful feature of RIM. It allows you, with the end user's permission, to set up to register a machine with your RIM account so that you can connect to that machine at any time without requiring the end user to be involved with the session. So if you've got machines that you need to do regular maintenance on, or if you have some users who are who have issues even with the process of starting a keyword session, then you can set up those machines for unattended access. And there's also another feature that makes it even easier to set up unattended access, which is that any RIM subscriber can create what we call a target installer, which is a version of the RIM installer that is pre-configured to register any machines that it is installed on to your RIM account. Now, whenever that installer is run, it will show the user a confirmation dialog saying something like, this installer will set up this machine so that Matt Campbell can access it without your permission, or without you needing to give permission at the time of the session. Do you want to do this? And so because these installers also expire. So we think that those measures are effective at preventing a possible abuse of this unattended target installer feature. Now, for an enterprise RIM subscription, and I'm sure Mike will talk more about pricing options later, it is possible to create target installers that can run in silent mode for mass deployment to a whole network of machines. So that is unattended access in a nutshell. Let me keep going.
Reboot and reconnect are 5 of 9.
If you're doing something like installing some software, or possibly uninstalling and reinstalling software, including assistive technology products, and you need to reboot the target machine as part of the process, but you're not done yet, then RIM can automatically reconnect the session when the machine comes back. And you can either do a reboot and reconnect through this option here, or if the machine was rebooted by some other piece of software, such as an installer that you just ran, then RIM will detect that and start the process of reconnecting.
Send Control plus Alt plus Delete 6 of 9.
Here are a couple of options. These next couple of options are for special keystrokes that if you were to just press them, they would have they would be captured by Windows on your local machine instead of the target machine. So Control Alt Delete is of course the most famous one of these.
Lock the target machine L7 of 9.
Windows plus L to lock the machine so that someone has to enter a password or PIN or use a fingerprint reader or something to log back in is the other key. If you were to just press Windows L, then it would happen on your local machine. And there's no way that we could stop that from happening. So we offer these menu options instead.
Connection details C8 of 9.
So I'm going to actually show you this option in action.
Remote session document. Connection details. Connection details. Main landmark heading level 1 connection details.
This is a web page that shows you various technical details about the connection. So
Heading level 2 controller. Table with 8 rows and 2 columns. Row 1 column 1 ping round trip time. Column 2 14 milliseconds.
14 milliseconds is actually a bit higher than I would have expected for 2 VMs on my same machine. But we generally, I mean, our target ping time is 100 milliseconds or less. And this is a good opportunity for me to talk a little bit about how the RIM connection works under the hood. And we normally, in about at least 75% of cases, are able to do a direct peer-to-peer connection between the controller and target machines. So that means that the connection is direct, or at least as direct as internet routing will allow. It doesn't have to go out to a central server and back to relay the data. And so if Steve is in British Columbia and he's helping someone else that's also in British Columbia, then it doesn't have to go all the way to the Eastern United States and back. In the cases where a peer-to-peer connection is not possible, then we have a network of relays around the world, including in Canada, and RIM will use the closest relay, and that just automatically happens. You don't have to worry about that. Let's
Row 2 column 1 data received.
let me just skim this table a bit.
Row 3 data sent. Row 4 network type. Row 5 local address. Row 6 local transport type.
And let's I'm pretty sure this connection here is peer-to-peer, but let's just double check on that.
Column 2 direct peer-to-peer. Row 7 column 1 remote address. Row 8 remote transport type. Column 2 direct peer-to-peer.
So the connection is direct peer-to-peer in both directions. No real surprise there, since again it's 2 VMs on my laptop. Let me just skim this page a little more.
Target heading level 2.
So
Table with 7 rows and 2 columns. Row 1 column 1 data received.
So this shows you the same, most of the same stats, but as seen by the target side of the connection. So one of the items I glossed over there was network type, and that is certainly Ethernet on both ends because it's VMs with virtual Ethernet interfaces. But if you wanted to know whether the target machine was on Ethernet or Wi-Fi, you could see that. And finally,
Machine info heading level 3.
here is some information about the target machine.
Table with 5 rows and 2 columns. Row 1 column 1 Windows version. Column 2 10.0.222621.
Windows 11 still uses version numbers of 10.x internally.
Row 2 column 1 total RAM. Column 2 4 GB. Row 3 column 1 free RAM. Column 2 2 GB.
Okay, so I've got 2 gigs of RAM free on that VM. We also have
Running processes heading level 4.
And for each process that's running on the target machine, we show you the process ID and the full path to the executable. And finally,
Installed packages heading level 4.
which is basically the list that you would find in your programs and features control panel. So that is the connection details page, and that gives
Remote
you
session.
a lot of useful information that you can use to troubleshoot problems with the connection or the target machine. And so the last option in the menu is, of
Menu
course,
selected. Disconnect session D9 of 9.
Now, Steve or Mike, is there anything else that you guys think that I should show before we end this demo?
No, sir. I think you nailed it.
All
As
right,
usual, of course.
so I will disconnect the session,
Desktop list.
and the target user, by the way, gets a pop-up notification when the session starts or ends. And if the target user is running a screen reader, then that notification will be spoken and or shown on their Braille display as any other notification would be. So that is my demo of RIM.
And as they say, where my geeks at? Where my geeks at? I love that.
Any questions?
Eric, I see your hand up.
Oh, that's funny. I thought I dropped it. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify the configuration that would be used by me personally, pretty much exclusively, would be screen reader on the controller machine and no screen reader on the target machine. So for that to work, I would have to have the RIM installed on both the controller and the target machine, and I would have to be using NVDA in order to get speech access from the target machine. Is that right?
Bingo. You
That's
got
it.
You were
Okay.
paying attention.
Yeah, just want to make sure. Thanks.
Awesome. I wanted to say, I mean, but we're all being, geeky, joking around. For those of you that didn't get this, all of this, because Matt did purposefully get real technical. The whole idea here is when it comes down to money and mobility, right? And they both mean the same thing. If you've got an AT specialist on one side of the state or one side of the country that needs to work with someone on the other side, it's a hell of a lot easier to go to your machine and connect to their machine in an accessible way and fix the problem than have them travel by plane, train, or automobile to get to where they need to go. I've literally talked to trainers that have traveled 6 hours just to reset a screen reader because unfortunately they're using JAWS Tandem. And of course, if JAWS is down, so is Tandem. And there are no other accessible scenarios, no other accessible pieces of software out there. And a lot of the AT folks tend to be visually impaired. So that's one. The other one is, let us not underestimate the power of the flip. When Matt was talking about flipping, that is one of the most exciting features, simply because as an AT trainer, you can sit in your office, you can literally evaluate a person 10 miles away, hundreds of miles away, in the comfort of their own home, at a family member's home. You can work with them. You can show them what it's like if they're recently visually impaired. It's going to be a lot less of a shock for them if they're using the computer that they've always used, and you're showing them, now we can add these things to your computer that can make your computer work like this. And this is what it feels like in your place. So this is an amazing solution for remote support. And one thing that we haven't mentioned up to now is we are adding Mac support. So by the end of the first quarter of this year or so, we will be releasing Mac support at very minimum into beta. And that will mean Mac to Mac, Mac to Windows, Windows to Mac, whatever your little heart desires, you can support it. And it's all included in the package pricing for RIM. So we don't have any different, oh, you're just Mac only or whatever. So I really do believe that this is a solution that is a great standalone solution. It really is. But now let's say you've got a solution that your huge organization has already adopted. Let's say you have a custom support solution that you're using for your customers, but you need remote accessibility. Get in contact. We can definitely talk about licensing this technology for inclusion in your own in your own solutions. In fact, I put out a challenge, and that is that TeamViewer or any company like it could license this technology from us and literally overnight make billions of computers accessible. We're the only ones on the planet that do it, and we really want to share it with as many people that want to include it in their technology and be as inclusive as they can be. Any questions? I wonder if I put everybody to sleep, Steve.
Well, I noticed Eric still got his hand up, so I don't know.
Maybe he fell asleep with his hand up.
I keep banging that lower button, but it keeps on. But anyway, let's get it into Quick Assist.
Yeah, well, hey, Microsoft knows we exist. The beauty of this though is that you can, we have, if you're a computer manufacturer, we have, for example, PCs for the blind, computers for the blind over here in the States. They're loading it onto every machine that they build. And that's, over 1,800 machines this year. And all they got to do is just, if they're doing attended, they just log on with the user's permission. It says, hey, support wants to connect to your computer. You want to let them? Or if they want to do the keyword session. If you have folks that are very physically challenged with dexterity or whatever, you can do full access and all over encrypted, very secure lines. We have a VPAT available. We have security documentation available. Please turn us on to your IT departments and make sure that they look at this. We're going to separate out Matt's demo as a separate piece. Right on Steve's website, you've got all kinds of information. And whether you contact Steve or contact us, the sale's going to Steve either way. So it's not that kind of party here. We just want to make sure that we're able to help you do what you need to do to make your workplace, your school, whatever it is, more accessible to those that you need to give them technical support and training. And whether it's us on our Pneuma website or Steve's website, we definitely want to hear from you with any questions or any suggestions. We're building this thing, and it takes a village to build software. It doesn't just happen by itself.
All righty. Any more questions? All right. Well, for you West Coasters, you go have lunch, and for you East Coasters,
Kevin raised his hand.
Oh, Kevin. Yep. Fire away, Kevin.
I just wanted to say, great job, guys. I think that's great. I think it's fantastic, the work you're doing. Keep it up. And, there's always room for improvement, but like Eric and my colleague Eric and I will talk about it later, I'm sure, and we'll probably render something off to our boss. I'm sure he probably wants to know more about it. But exactly.
Because I remember that when we went to buy those key rings for Jocelyn.
Your needs for
Michael's
satisfaction of a presentation.
Because there's only I want like a pretty
Sorry,
like
Eric, we're getting some
to be through the
stuff through you there.
Right?
I'm gonna mute you, Eric.
Yeah, no, it's not me. It's somebody else that mute me. Yeah. Anyways, there's some feedback there, but no, thanks a lot, guys. It's very informative. I love a lot of it. I think it's great, and whatever we can do to make things accessible for everybody, right? It's whether it be the dexterity, cognitive, vision, hearing, whatever we can do, right? I think it's great. Keep up the great work, guys. That's all I wanted to say. That's why I raised my hand. So
thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot for your presentation. Very informative. I loved it.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and I will be doing a follow-up email with a coupon code for you for anybody who initiates a enterprise purchase. And yeah.
You're giving away that
think-
money again, Steve.
I'm giving away the money.
Jeez. All right, guys. Well, we hope to see you in subsequent meetings, and we hope we've answered all your questions.
All right, everybody have a terrific afternoon.
Campbell has let the meeting alert. Participants, 10.